Alright, next I'll do Wii. Got quite a bit of Wii games here. First is Donkey Kong Country Returns. Great platformer, really solid controls. I really enjoyed what I've played of this one. Haven't beat it yet. I'm still kind of trying to work my way through this whenever I remember to get around to it. But this is a very solid platformer that will definitely please fans of the original. It is still very, very hard. Nothing bad to say about it, honestly. Kirby's Epic Yarn, a really great game. As you guys may have known, this was one of my most anticipated games coming out from last year, but I was a little let down by how much it didn't feel like a Kirby game. The only similarity it had was music, which the music in this game is great, by the way, but the gameplay was almost nothing like Kirby, because it actually did originate as a totally different game, and then Nintendo decided to just have the developers slap on a Kirby skin onto it and call it a Kirby game. As you may know, there's a new Kirby game coming out on the Wii that will actually be like a classic Kirby game, but I still would highly recommend this. It's very charming, very cute. It's a solid platformer that I can definitely highly recommend. If you're looking for a challenge, though, I would avoid it. This is one that I just cracked open a couple of days ago and started playing, and that is Shiren the Wanderer for the Wii. This is a roguelike, and this is a series that has had some exposure here in the United States. On the DS as Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer. And there are other roguelikes out there, not many. There's a lot more in Japan than in the United States. This is roguelike, meaning that when you die, there's two difficulty modes. I'm playing on the normal one. So when I die, I will lose possibly my levels in some dungeons, and I will lose all the items that I acquire. It's a dungeon-based, random dungeon-based RPG where the enemies are random. Every move that you make, the enemies will also make a move at the same time as you. It's very strategic. I'm enjoying it so far because I have really been getting into the roguelikes lately. Next is Sakura Wars So Long My Love. This is a dating simulator, turn-based strategy mech game. As crazy as that sounds, I did play this one time. I actually live streamed it for a couple of hours, and it was pretty enjoyable. Believe it or not, the story and the voice acting and the characters were very likable. So if you have to be a fan of anime, though. I'm telling you, if you hate anime, avoid this game at all costs. But the interactions with the characters actually build up, and that's how you level up your characters in this game. Believe it or not, is by interacting in the simulator portion of the game with your teammates. Very unique, very cool. Also available on the PS2. Fragile Dreams Farewell to the Moon. This is a game that I cannot stop thinking of in 2010. It's unfortunate that it does suffer from some poor gameplay choices at times, but this is an excellent, atmospheric, moody, very beautiful, very well woven together action RPG. Definitely not for everybody, but if you're a fan of artistic, kind of atmospheric, artsy games, definitely check this out. It does have some control and gameplay issues, but it's a very unique experience that has some great story moments in here that I can definitely recommend. It's not for everybody, but if you're a fan of quirky Japanese games, check it out. I highly recommend this one. Monster Hunter 3 Try. I couldn't get into it, but I definitely want to recommend this to fans of style games just like, what can I say, Monster Hunter or Phantasy Star. If you haven't tried out these style of RPGs, the ones where you're crafting your weapons and armor and getting materials, this is a good one to start off with. I just cannot get into the Monster Hunter series for some reason. It's a little intimidating, I guess I can say, especially when you can go online. But it's a very long game. It's going to take you, hundreds of hours you can invest into this. The online mode, though, might make this one worth a try. Rise Fantasia. This is a pretty decent action RPG, turn-based. Sorry, it's sort of a blend of action and turn-based, but mostly turn-based. It gets compared to the Tales series, which I could definitely see. It looks a little bit similar during combat, but it has a great weapon customization mode where you can kind of put in certain attributes to your weapons. The voice acting can be really bad at times. Graphic and design-wise, your typical action anime, turn-based RPG, so check it out if you're a fan of that kind of thing. In terms of fighting games on the Wii, there's not much to choose from, but I would recommend Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. I bought the fighting stick for this as well. I didn't invest a lot of time into this game at all, but Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is out. I'm sure everybody's moved on to that, but if you do not, for some reason, have that game, still check this out if you have a Wii and you're looking for a fighting game. Sin and Punishment Star Successor, also known as Sin and Punishment 2, the sequel to the once Japanese only, since it's been ported to the Wii console, on the Virtual Console. This is the sequel to a very cult classic on the N64 called Sin and Punishment. This is a, think Panzer Dragoon style game where it's constantly moving forward. it does stop at times, but you're just moving your character around screen and firing, so it's a sort of unique shoot 'em up style kind of game. There's not many games in this genre available on the consoles, so if you're looking for something that's a bit different and definitely worth checking out, check this out. I did a review on this, so check that out if you want some more details. And a really great game, a really great gem that came out in 2010 is Ivy the Kiwi. Also available on the DS. I did not play that, but it is also on the Wii. I did a review for this. Very unique platformer that got really challenging later on. It's a lot of fun. Unlike anything I played before, you control your character. She's constantly moving from left to right, back and forth, but you control her by drawing vines on the screen and pulling them and catapulting her around the screen and, you know, avoiding enemies and such. The concept, when you watch a video, it might not look that great, but once you get your hands on the Wii version, it controls really well and is a lot of fun. Okay, moving on to the DS. Let's see what we got here. This is the third game to come out on the DS for the Taiko no Tatsujin, or the Taiko Drum Master games. I'm a big fan of the series, I have to admit. The third one I do not enjoy as much as the second, but it does introduce a RPG-style single-player. If you're not familiar with this series, I've talked about it before, but it's a rhythm-based game. It's only in Japan, but it's a lot of fun. Definitely check it out. Next is 9 Doors, or sorry, I always get this wrong, 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. This is a game that would have probably admittedly made it into my top 10 if I had finished it. This is it's like a very story-driven game where it's almost like an interactive novel with puzzles in between. The basic concept is you wake up on a ship, you have to try and escape with these other people. It's a mystery how you get on the ship, how you're going to escape. You have to solve these puzzles, or else you'll die. If someone dies, you're obviously not going to get off the ship because of how the puzzles are based. Very, very good game. If you're into any sort of story-based games, or if you're into anime, if you're into puzzle solving, you must check this game out. I really do have to get back to playing this. One of my highest recommendations, guys. Unfortunately, I did not finish it, so I cannot judge it fairly to have placed it on my top 10, but I can safely say I probably would have. Definitely a lot of replay as well to this game. Golden Sun, Dark Dawn, haven't played a lot of it. I really enjoyed the first Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance. This play is very similar to it. It might have gotten caught up a little bit in nostalgia of Golden Sun, because the greatest part about Golden Sun for me back on the Game Boy Advance was that I had seen nothing like it back then in terms of graphics and turn-based RPGs on the system. So now that we've kind of gotten our feet wet with that on the DS, this might be a little bit less spectacular. If you're a super fan of Golden Sun, I'm sure you've picked it up. If you're a fan of turn-based RPGs, definitely check it out. Next is Dragon Quest IX, Sentinels of the Starry Skies. I did not play this any multiplayer, but the single player I can safely say was a ton of fun. I put in quite a bit of hours when I first picked this up. I'm sure if you're a Dragon Quest fan, you've picked this up already, but if you have not, if you've never played a Dragon Quest game before, this is a really great one to start with, I'd say. I've only played a few in the series, but for me, I could recommend this one. Really easy to get into. If you're kind of scared off by the really traditional Dragon Quests, like, say, Dragon Quest IV and such, this one's a little bit more modernized in that it's got some elements to it where, you know, you can actually see the armor on your characters. The world is a little bit more open, I guess you can say. You can see the enemies on screen before you get into a battle with them. So they've added in some elements, and especially the multiplayer, so definitely check this out. Pokemon Silver, I'm sure you're all playing Black and White, but don't forget about Pokemon Silver and Pokemon Heart Gold on the DS. Great games. Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey. If you're a fan of dungeon crawlers, or the Etrian Odyssey series, Darkspire, Pokemon, really challenging games, or if you're a fan of the Shin Megami Tensei series, give this one a look. Very atmospheric, space, sci-fi, horror game, where you can fuse your monsters together that you, I guess you can say, catch in the game. But what I like most about it is how, just like the other Tensei games, you talk to your monsters and try and recruit them, and it's just a very unique feel. It's very intimidating though, so it's not for everybody on the first go. It might take you a little bit to understand what's happening. Professor Layton and the Unwanted Future on the DS, great series. The third one I'm enjoying. Not as good as the first one though, I don't think. I didn't play the second one. And Final Fantasy IV Heroes of Light, a very classic, not hand-holding RPG. So if you're the type of person that wants an old-school, turn-based RPG that does not hold your hand in terms of where to go next, definitely check this one out. The battle system is very interesting in that you do not control the turn order that your characters go in. So it has a very unique strategy element to it, and the graphical style is very unique. So check this out. It's a very different Final Fantasy game. Okay, moving on to the PSP. I did not really compile a big pile here of PSP games, and they're all RPGs. I'm sorry, that's basically all that comes out on the PSP lately that I'm interested in. Ys 7 and Ys Felghana. I would highly recommend these games, except I would definitely go with Felghana over Ys 7, just because I think it's the much better game. I'm not a fan of the character switching in this. This is the first time I'm playing Felghana, and a lot of people are getting into the Ys series recently, and if you have not done so yet, I would definitely recommend checking out Felghana, an excellent soundtrack that the series is known for. This was originally only available on the PC in Japan. Very fast-paced action third-person RPG. It's unlike anything out there in terms of RPG series, so check this out for sure, especially if you're tired of turn-based games and you want to try something a little new. I'm not a big fan of, well, I shouldn't say that. I enjoyed Persona 3, but nowhere near as much as Persona 4, but I just still want to recommend Persona 3 on the PSP because there's really nothing else like it on the PSP besides Persona, the original Persona, which I still have never played. This is a little more modernized, might be a little bit easier for people to get into. Unfortunately, some drawbacks had to be made to the PSP version. It's not in 3D renders in terms of when you're in the town. It's all menu overhead based. So, but if you're looking to get into the Persona series and you don't have a PS2, check out the PSP version. I just wanted to include this one because the name is just so wacky, and that is ZHP, Unlosing Ranger vs. Dark Death Evil Man. This is a roguelike RPG that has a very similar style to the Disgaea games. So if you're into Disgaea, and it actually makes, it's from Nippon Ichi, and there's a little cameo by Prinny's in here. So if you're into roguelikes, check it out. If you're into the Disgaea series and you want an introduction to roguelikes, if you've never played one before, this would be one to check out as well. I personally could not get into it, though. And lastly, for the PSP is Lunar the Silver Star Harmony. This is a remake of the Silver Star story, which has appeared on multiple consoles, PlayStation 1, Sega CD. The remake is a bit easier. The graphical style is a bit updated. Great game. I still do think I prefer the PlayStation version over this one, though. So check it out if you haven't already. It's a great classic turn-based RPG. That's just some of the games from 2010 that I really just wanted to remind you all about before we get into the busy time here in 2011. As you all know, it's coming up with E3 and such. So go back, revisit some of these games while you can, while you have the time. It's a little bit slow in 2011 right now in terms of game releases, so now's the time to go back, try and play some of these now while you can, before you get a backlog from 2011. So I hope this video helped you find some games that you might have missed out on from 2010. So thanks for watching, guys.